Boom, boom, boom. Okay.
So, welcome everyone. This is the Untitled Siskel and Ebert ripoff.
That's
Credits.
I couldn't think of a name that was like actually like genuinely smart because this is just us doing the Siskel and Ebert thing because I feel like it'd be interesting to have two because we're like in the people that we know like in this circle we're like the movie people like we actually like we're the Siskel and Ebert basically so
we
like
see we see all the weird obscure shit.
yeah, yeah, I'd be pulling up to watch Crash and giving it a thumbs up, you know what I mean? Like,
My,
um,
I have to be real. I sent a copy of I Like Movies to a friend of mine, because he
oh,
really
you
wanted to
had
watch
the
it.
you bought the iTunes and you gave it to him, your
No,
iTunes.
because it's not on iTunes yet. But I copied the one that I had from my Google Drive and I just sent it to him.
Okay, wait. So, okay, interesting.
I
I'm
sent it
surprised.
over text. Believe it or not.
That's a good movie. That's a great movie. It's not in our thing to talk about, but that's a great movie. That's a
Um, yeah, I I would put it in my three to see, which we'll do
mhm.
at the end of the show. But the only thing
Yeah.
is that I don't know when it's going to be in enough cities to justify that because they've just started the
Yeah, I would
road
say
show.
wait until it gets wait till it gets full distribution to use it.
Mm,
I will definitely choose very particular ones that are very relevant for mine just
mm,
cuz just oh, especially one that's coming out like right away that I think people should
mm.
see. But okay, let's go through the list. I put The People's Joker as the first one we're going to talk about because I've
I
been thinking about it
I was
recently. I've
actually
been
going to say, since this is a Siskel and Ebert ripoff, we're going to take turns leading the review, and I thought you should
okay.
lead the People's Joker. Let's start with that.
Okay. So The People's Joker is an interesting figment of a film because it premiered 2 years ago at TIFF. I
Mm,
saw it 2 years ago at TIFF. And for a whole year I had to tell people I really really like this movie, you should check it out. But
mm,
when people would ask where to see it, I never had an answer until Outfest started doing it again and they got the distribution rights to do it. It was
mm,
just this little rinky dink parody film that somehow got a screening at one of the top 5 festivals. And it's about a girl who's like, "Hey, I'm trans and I'm also a Joker." And basically it's the Joker story but told with a different lens and perspective. And it's interesting. I'd say it's an Adult Swim movie, but it's one that I wanted to talk about first because it's the one I've seen the furthest from my
mm.
memory. Like, I don't remember some of it. And I'm a little worried that when I end up watching it again, I might not like it as much. And I think it's because it cemented itself in a period of my time or of my life, a time period, time in my life, where meant something. I don't know if that will be the same thing later, like now. So I'm
Mm.
interested to see it again. But when I saw it, I really liked it. And I was one of the biggest champions of it for a while. Um, I like it still from what I can recall, I still like it. I don't know if it's an 11 out of 10. Like I have a special selection of films that are like 11 out of 10. Like they're made for me. I love them. I'll watch them all
Mm.
over and over again. This one I can't count in there because I've only seen it once, but like uh it's good. I really liked it. I think it's really interesting. Really fun use of multimedia filmmaking
Hmm. Oh
that
yeah.
should be done more. I think we should do more multimedia filmmaking because it almost it's experimental for our modern day. You would think people would make more movies like this, but for some reason no one does.
Yeah.
Except if you're like this or Late Night with the Devil, you're not doing or
Skinnamarink.
Aggro Drift, Skinamarink, you're not doing this usually. So it's cool to see people do that where you fuck around with like different types of art to put it together to make something really fucking weird. I liked it. I think that's all I'll say though, because until we get into specifics, which we might
Yeah.
do, I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't remember it as much as you do. But
Yeah. I
mhm.
saw it about 2 3 weeks ago for the first time. And I will say that I have a weird feeling that you watching it again, you're going to like it just as much. Because I will say this right now: The People's Joker is one of the best films of the year so far. for me.
I would,
I
yeah.
absolutely adored this movie. I have the poster on my wall. I can't show it to you at this time.
It was in my top 3 for 2022, up
Mm.
there with, Everything Everywhere and Babylon, and just kind of there with After Sun. It was up there where I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
this is, like, one of the best things I saw that year."
What I love
But
about this movie, what I love about, and I've been waiting to talk to you about it, honestly, in more
yeah.
detail. What I love about this movie, first off, like you said, multimedia. Let
Mhm.
me just be frank. I love you, Jared Hess. Vera Drew already made the best Minecraft movie.
Oh,
There's the Minecraft sequence in it.
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, she did do that. She did that one? Yeah,
This,
okay.
yeah, this
Yeah.
movie. I was in. I saw this movie under unusual circumstances because it is in the States right now. It is sort of going city by city. It's one of a
Yeah, it was at
yeah.
a college? You
It
saw
was
it
in
at,
a
like, a
college auditorium. So
college auditorium, yeah.
yeah.
That's weird.
So I live in close to St. Louis.
Mhm.
Not too far away is Webster University. They have a film program, and they were doing. They do reissues, like they do classic. They recently did the Chinese A Long Day's Journey into Night in 3D.
Oh,
Where
that's tight. That's cool.
yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
they did this
Yeah.
as part of, it was one of the cities, because Vera Drew has been taking the movie on the road and kind of putting it out places.
And she
And so
got to
yeah,
play it, yeah.
it was a packed auditorium, full of people. The lights went down. There were a couple of trailers. We actually did get a couple
Mhm.
of trailers. But then afterwards, it was lights came on. The people started kind of when they saw, like, this is a fair use parody part, and
Okay.
then To My Mom fades out.
And Joel
And Joel
Schumacher.
Schumacher, the place
Yeah.
erupted like an
Oh my
earthquake.
gosh. Did it also start with, um, the "fuck Zaslav" thing?
Did
Was there a
it?
"fuck Zaslav" joke in there?
I think it was in. I think it was in the disclaimer, but it went too fast.
Because I think the movie started, it's either that or Hundreds of Beavers started, with at the screening I saw it at,
Mm-hmm.
where it was the logo of Warner Brothers, but it says "fuck Zaslav." Like, it was one of those, and I thought that was so
Oh,
fucking funny.
we got.
Um,
It was well, Vera Drew's production company, which I believe is Haunted Gay Ride Productions.
yeah,
Is that correct?
yeah.
Yeah. It was like a pumpkin with VD in it, and
Okay,
it was like
okay. Okay,
alternately.
so maybe it was at my Hundreds of Beavers screening where it started with the
Mm.
thing that said "fuck Zaslav," which I thought was so funny because that was the moment. Oh no, no, it would have been this year. Yeah, no, it was this year with Hundreds of Beavers. It was like "fuck Zaslav." I was like, that's so funny.
I the People's Joker. What I love about this movie so much
Mhm.
is that it is a shitpost movie. But
Yes.
what makes it work is that it's a shitpost movie with a heart. And it's a shitpost movie that has emotional depth. There is a scene.
Yeah.
It's a trans coming of age story, and what I love about
Mhm.
this movie, that is, but filtered through like the Tim and Eric filter, and I love that. And what I love about, there's a moment where it really, because it is like sort of, oh, it's a parody, it's funny and all
Mhm.
that. There's a moment where it's a flashback, and it's been 2 years since you've seen it,
I
where
think I remember.
the mother says something to the extent of, I don't want, like, I'm just scared. I was always scared of you being a lonely boy. I'm really scared of you being a lonely woman, or something to that
Yeah.
nature. And I
Yeah.
started
Yeah.
tearing up. Like, it genuinely felt real
I
in the way.
remember my memory of it is, like, specific scenes, and the rest of
Mhm,
it is just flashing lights. 'Cause
mhm.
I was so stoned. I was like, "This is so good." Um, it's if from what I remember, there are deep scenes where I was like, "Okay, this is past the Adult Swim form, and
Mm.
now it's, like, actually a compelling story
It's
being
outsider art.
told." Yeah.
And what I love the fact that the movie, unlike another movie we're going to talk about in our segment toward the end that we're reserving a special spot for, it's a movie
Yes.
where the shoddiness is part of the shitpostiness of it all, but it's
Yeah.
also about, it's a low budget
Because
movie.
shit posting is hard. Like, I
It
think,
is.
we have good ones. Freddy Got Fingered is, like, an
Oh
all-timer
yeah,
shitpost movie, like, it's amazing.
it's a
But
misunderstood art film.
yeah, it is, because he basically literally makes fun of the studio in the movie. No,
Mm.
the one I just saw, the Radu Jude film, Don't expect too much from The End of the World, or do not
I'm
expect
planning
too
on
much
watching
from
that this week, maybe for next time. How is it?
We could talk about it next time, but in terms of shit posting, it doesn't work. It doesn't.
Really?
There's some scenes that are really funny, and then there are some scenes where I'm like, okay, the whole joke is that nothing is happening. And I think this People's Joker is an example of how to shit post right. Because I think that
Mm.
you have to keep your audience invested, but also make fun of them and fuck with them, you know?
And
I
find a way
think
to
they
keep the
should do
invention
both.
up. Like,
Yeah.
I also have to say, along with everything else, sorry for the
Mhm.
interference there. Along with everything else, Vera Drew is a really terrific actress
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
gives a
For a
genuinely great
first
performance.
film, yeah.
Yeah.
For someone who only has ever been in their and their friends' YouTube videos, I think it's
Hmm.
well, because you got her YouTube videos, and then she's in um stuff with Ember Knight. So like
Hmm.
she's done stuff, but it's not to the extent where you have to carry a whole movie. And that's the thing too. It's an 80-minute it's in the same realm as Aggro Drift. It's an 80-minute shit post where surprisingly you're not tired of it like 10 minutes in. And I think that that's something that its ultimate strength is
Yeah.
that a joke like this would not be funny. I think you're gonna bring it up in your dog of the week. I was
Yeah.
just watching someone else do another review of it. That's a movie that you're gonna bring up
Hmm.
where the joke is not funny after 5 minutes because there's no joke that
It's
is like,
lazy. This movie is
yeah,
lazy.
it's not lazy. This is
Right.
actually like a well done uh joke that is layered, and then in the third act it just gets ridiculous and you're like, okay, I guess we're here, but that's really cool. Like,
I would call this first show, if you don't mind me saying it, the week of gimmicks that worked. Because kind of all our movies are, or at least most of them, are
our
movies
gimmicks, yeah.
that should have only been a short film, but somehow they were a feature and it
Yeah,
worked.
I think it's funny that you bring that up because I never thought about it being that, but it is true. All the stuff, even my big pick for 3 to see is also a gimmick that worked
Right.
really well. No, it's true. I think People's Joker is a great. It's a film that it has strong performances. It's
Hmm.
funny. It's a really cool use of the multimedia
Yeah.
situation. I think it's great. I think it's a great
Great movie.
movie. Whenever you get to see it in your area, I think that everyone should check it out. It's something that there's a lot of love and care put into it,
Hmm.
even if right now it seems like it's going off the deep end and people are questioning the whole underground nature of it now. I still think it's a cool movie. It's now with the distribution, it's now not really this underground movie, but it's
Right.
still kind of cool. Like,
Well,
it's
it's the
still.
Escape from Tomorrow effect. It's like now that the world is starting to see it, like
Yeah, which I
it,
also liked. I thought that was
which
an
I love
interesting
that
movie.
movie. But
Mhm.
I think it was on my best of list in 2013, actually. But I love
I didn't
Escape
like
from
it the
Tomorrow.
first time, but then I
Mhm.
got really into surrealism, and I'm like, "Yeah, no, this is actually kind of a banger."
Escape from Tomorrow is what I like to call Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey if it was good.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Where it's like a fuck Disney movie that's actually like really good.
That says fuck
Um,
Disney in every second of
nah,
it.
People's Joker. People should check it out whenever it comes out. People should check out People's
Yeah,
Joker. I don't want to talk too much about it. I think 10 minutes for each movie is pretty tight. I think.
yeah, that's a good call. But
Yeah,
yeah, thumbs up,
I would say thumbs up. Yeah, yeah, thumbs
big
up. I
time.
would say, yeah. The next one is it Hundreds of Beavers? Are we gonna talk about
Yeah,
Hundreds of
can
Beavers?
can I
Okay.
lead this one?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do it, do it. Yeah.
So, Hundreds of Beavers is the delightful story. First off, I want to mention it's directed by Mike Cheslick and co-written by the guy's name I cannot think of it off the
Yeah.
top of my head. It's such a lost art.
Rylan co-wrote it with him.
Which, by the way, we
Who they
might have
worked
a home.
on they
Yeah,
worked on Lake Michigan Monster too,
which
which I thought was
I'm gonna watch next week maybe for Home Media Minute
it's real
because.
fun.
But so this is the classic story of love, sex, drugs, violence, and cartoon
Beavers. Yeah,
sound
yeah,
effects
yeah.
as this sad drunken Applejack brewer decides
Yeah.
to redeem himself by killing hundreds of beavers in the most
Mhm.
Buster Keaton way imaginable.
Yes.
And okay, full disclosure, I've seen this movie now 3 times.
I've seen it twice. I
I'm
rewatched it the day it came out, just because I was like, I want to see it after Dank. Because Midnight Dankness was an interesting situation, because you know that scene where the hundreds of beavers are running at him?
yeah,
Rylan ran down the fucking aisle,
that's
and
awesome.
four beavers were chasing him, and they were RKOing each other. Like it was, it. I sent you a video. They're literally during the Q&A. They're like, "Fuck you! I hate your question." And then Rylan's in the corner RKOing a fucking beaver, and it's just like it's got that vibe. It's got that like it's another shit post that is
Absolutely.
almost 2 hours long, but it
I
works so damn well. Like I paused the movie when I watched it a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, it must have been 20 minutes, right? It was a fucking hour. I was an
yeah,
hour in. I'm like, yeah, this has got a good pace. Like,
I so the way I saw this movie, first off, I bought it when it came out. It had no production logos at all. It just started. It's been playing in theaters off and on. Oh no, my co-host is gone.
yeah,
Uh,
I'm here. I'm here.
it's gone to the Phantom Zone.
Just, yeah.
So the first time I watched it, and
I'm in the nightmare realm. I'm in the nightmare realm. Help me, Justice Smith. I'm in the nightmare realm. No. You saw it. Yes, that's what. It's no
at
production
home.
logos. It's very independent. Very independent.
Very independent. Up to
Yeah.
$100,000 budget. I
Yes.
saw this movie then, and then literally days later, I watched it again like the next day. Then days
Yeah.
later, I went to with a friend of mine to see the re-release of Alien, and it was late, and I said, "Dude, I know it's late. I know you got to work tomorrow. You want to come back to my place and watch some Beavs?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, sure. Let's go watch some Beavs." 20 minutes in, he said, "Is this the whole movie? Like, is this going to be
Yeah.
the whole thing?" And I said, "Just you wait." And then an hour
Yeah.
later, he said, "We got 45 minutes left," and he goes, "Let's fucking go, dude." It's
When
like
the logo shows up, it's like hundreds of beavers. You're like, oh
dude,
my god.
I'm seeing it again with him and my mom because she
Mhm.
really wants to see it. They're doing a screening of it in St. Louis in a couple weeks,
Nice.
and it's like a fan like
Yeah,
victory
yeah.
lap screening of it.
They're probably
I
gonna fuck around too. They're probably gonna do what they did at the Midnight Dankness, where they're just fucking around the whole time. It's funny. It's
my
great.
favorite. It has the biggest laugh of anything this year, and I'm not going to say the context, but I was watching my friend's face when it happened, and his
Yeah.
face went from that kind of laughing to when it happened going, ah! Like exploding, which is, I'll just say 2 words, oh shit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah. Yeah.
shit, when that comes in.
I
It's,
also I love the last 30 minutes of the movie are just ape shit. Like
they are!
like because you start out and you're watching, you're like, okay, it's a little bit of a Looney Tunes thing, and then he's doing like Temple of Doom ass shit, and I'm like,
Right.
what the fuck is good? Like it's and the fight scene. My favorite scene in that movie has to be the fight scene where he like Mortal Kombat
Yeah.
fatalities a beaver and shit. Like that shit is nuts. It's funny, and it's another movie where you're like, will I want to follow this character for almost 2 hours? And it works. It's
It shouldn't
just
work, but it does.
and they keep doing, and in my review, I kept saying like there's like 5 jokes, but they keep doing them. But each time they're still fucking funny because they edit the joke in a way where it's like, oh, that like the spitting joke. You think
Yeah.
that would get dumb, but then shit starts moving, and you're like, oh, okay, this is still funny. Like we saw it at Dankness,
Mhm.
and Luca Meta, who Collateral 2004, I think is his name on Twitter right now. It used to be Adult Butt Man, but we were seeing it, and he was sitting beside me. Every minute or minute and a half, all I heard beside me was ah, like it was like he was so goddamn into that movie because it's so fucking funny. Like it's
It
so
is.
funny, and that is a genuine strength of the film is that it's hilarious because it taps into a type of comedy that will never not be funny, and
It
that is a someone getting hurt or
right.
someone, you know.
What Cheslick does so well is he kind of strips it down to the bare minimum of what is
Mhm.
just inherently durable as a comic device. Okay. But the other thing is that as a one joke premise, it should only work for about 10 minutes. It
Yeah.
escalates. Every gag escalates.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
knows how to kind of surprise you with how much it escalates as it goes. You think
Yeah.
it's going to run out of steam, and then you see Sherlock Holmes Beaver, and you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
let's
And you're like,
let's
why is he
go.
in here? Yeah. And then you get to like a fucking courtroom and you're like, Anatomy of a Fall, what? And it's just like, what is yeah, no, it's a movie that I don't want to say too much on. A lot of these
Sure.
movies I don't want to say too much on because I think that they're all films where their big thing is that they're experiences. And I
Oh,
think that a
absolutely.
lot of those movies, for me at least, the best way to do them is maybe watch a trailer,
Hmm.
get a little baked, and then just see what the fuck is waiting for you. Because I feel like these are movies that you can't over explain or
Right.
you kind of ruin. Because a lot of these are just trippy, random ass movies that just came out that are really like they're running the asylum, the crazy motherfuckers
Oh
running the
yeah.
asylum type movies, and they work and they're like really all funny, like, and they
Mm.
really well made.
Well,
But no, Hundreds of Beavers, another one. This one's easier to watch because it's
big
on
thumbs up.
digital. It's a thumbs up. Go rent it on iTunes.
It's
Like, go
widely
rent.
available.
It
It's widely
is. It's
available.
one of the only ones of this, I would say, in this grouping of films that I collectively put in my mind where you can actually just watch it right now, like wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I Okay, so before we get to this next one, it's a word
Mhm.
from our sponsor, and that is Frosty Puffs.
Yeah.
If you want your culling to be extra bloody, you gotta
Yeah.
get Frosty Puffs. It's the best pirate themed
That's
cereal
true.
around. Fuck you, Captain Crunch. All
Yeah.
right,
Fuck you, Captain
so
Crunch.
yeah, thumbs up for Hundreds of Beavers. Let's
Yeah.
move on to our next film. Also, I should point out, Hundreds of Beavers in my current ranking is even higher than The People's Joker. It's one of my favorite films of the
I
year.
would say I have it lower, but it's in that same gimmick area of like high nines,
I think
possibly
they're
low
next to each
tens.
other, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
There's only one movie I've seen this year, and I'll talk about it in my 3 to watch or 3 to see, that I would genuinely say is an 11 out of 10, but that's like everything else is like
mhm.
there's all these movies, except for a couple we're gonna bring up that I'm not that we might have disagreements on. Um, but okay, Boy Kills World. Also
Yes.
saw this one in Midnight Madness. I This is an interesting one
Hmm.
because I was one of the only people that actually liked it in the theater. A lot of people hated it because it's not the most breathtaking, groundbreaking movie,
No.
but it does stuff that's really cool. I think one of the standouts I will always say is them shooting the action scenes with drones because
Hmm.
you can actually see everything going on and you move with the action, which I think is such a really cool use of it because I'm tired of the quick cut action scenes, and seeing
Hmm.
it with a drone where it's like will I think is one of the strongest points of this movie. But it's a simple premise. It's basically Kill Bill, except it's Bill Skarsgård, and he's trying to kill the people that killed his family uh, in wild ways. It's very much The Raid. It's very much Kill Bill. It's very much
Scott Pilgrim.
Deadpool. Scott Pilgrim. Yeah,
Yep.
it's very much a movie that it's great. The people who are gonna love it the most, 15-year-olds who just got into films.
And
That's
Stone.
very, yeah. Yeah,
So
no, yeah.
so I actually think there's more substance to this movie than you're gonna give it credit than you gave it credit for.
There
And
probably is. Yeah, there is. But I think that in compare a lot of people don't like the movie.
yeah.
And I can see why they don't like the movie, but I just think it's a fun, have fun at the movies, kind of turn off your brain type
Mm,
action film. I feel
yeah.
like where there's some things a second watch when I saw it again recently, I think I noticed there's some significant issues in the plot, but I
Mm,
don't have a problem with it because I'm not there to see the plot. I'm there to see people like losing their feet and shit like that.
yeah.
Like.
Losing their hands in a press and still finding a way to keep kicking ass.
Yeah, which that was a cool scene.
That
Like
was
that
insane.
some of those action scenes are like absolutely nuts. You're like, You know, of course, it was a crazy South African director who's like, "This is what we're gonna do," and
Player
that's
2
and
is
he got
crazy
to,
as fuck, man.
yeah.
But I've seen this movie twice. This is another
Mhm.
one I've seen twice in the theater. The first time I saw it, it snuck up on me basically because it was a mystery screening.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
was AMC Screen Unseen,
Which
which is
that's
like,
probably their best unseen they've had in a while. Because when you're comparing it to Sting and all these random other
oh,
movies that people
Sting
are like, "Oh,
sucked.
they're mid," they've been dropping a lot of mid-screen unseens, and then they'll be like, "Oh no, but here's Boy Kills World." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's a cool
And guess
choice." Like,
what? People didn't like it. And
people
okay, let me.
walked out, right? People walked out.
Okay, well, it was actually a 2 week in a row thing because last week, the week before that, they did Spy Family Code White, which was actually really good.
Okay.
But people walked out because it was subtitled and it
Yeah,
was an
yeah, yeah.
anime movie. This time, around the time it was like a certain character. Let's just put it this way: a certain character meets their end by a bench thing like falling on
It's in
them.
the trailer. It's in the
It's in the
trailer.
trailer.
Yeah, where it's like, "I'll give you information." It's like, like that's a
Like
great that's a great joke.
more than a third of the elderly audience walked out and loudly and made sure that
That's
everybody could see them.
that's really weird because the movie
Yeah.
was hella violent before that.
Right.
Like,
But they
I
had
don't know
enough.
why a bench press destroying someone's face is what got them. Maybe because it looks so damn real. Like they did
Yeah,
a
it
good
did.
job with that. With that, where I'm like, oh, that looks fucked up. Like that's some midsummer shit right there. Like,
Oh, totally.
no, but yeah, I could see why certain groups of people, like, over a certain age wouldn't like this because it's very much I don't wanna say this in a negative aspect, but it's got some childish intricacies, which I do think are great in the movie because you are following this guy who was kidnapped or, like, basically his family was destroyed, when he was young. So he's perpetually that age. He's
Right.
just in Bill Skarsgård's body,
His inner
like,
voice is literally from an old arcade game from when he was.
yeah, Bob's Burgers, which I thought was cool because when we originally saw it, it was Bill Skarsgård's voice, and then
In
they
the
put
original
in
trailer from the festivals, it was him.
it was him, but
Yeah,
then they put Bob Belcher in to do it
yeah.
instead, which is a
Which
weird choice,
fits,
but I like
honestly.
it. It does, yeah.
I
But no, Jessica
can,
Roth is great.
Jessica
Jessica
Roth's
Roth, I
great.
gotta bring her up just
Michelle
because
Dockery, really good.
Michelle Dockery's funny in it too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's hilarious.
for the part that he's in, I like Charlton Copley. I like a lot of what he's in. I liked him in Hardcore Henry. I think Hardcore Henry is
Monkey Man.
crazy. I heard he's good in Monkey Man. I've not seen
Oh,
Monkey
you
Man
haven't
yet.
seen it yet? Okay.
I'll check it out. I've heard a lot of people say that it's decent, but it's got some like it's not perfect because it's clearly like a first film. It feels like a
Hmm.
first film.
I think there's a prerequisite that every gamer-esque action thriller that might have been shot in South Africa has to have Charlotte Copley in it. Like this isn't like a
Probably.
like
Yeah, just because he's one well, Chappie too. He's in Chappie. He's in
District
Chappie with
the
the
A
Ant
Team.
Word. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, it's a good movie. I think it's fun. I think if you're going into it thinking I want to see a really cool action movie that is funny and has some like really interesting and like vile kills in it, then I think that you're gonna have a fun time. That's what you should go into it with, and but it premiered at Midnight Madness, so I don't understand why people didn't get on its radar
Yeah.
because it's a Midnight Madness movie. I like to explain it to people. We're all either tired, drunk, or stoned, or all three together, and we just want to see a crazy movie. That's the vibe. Like
Right.
they showed after I left, they showed um the one about the two brothers who come upon the demon in the old woman, like the gross ass looking demon, and the demon starts the demon starts hunting the family. That
Oh, when evil lurks.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They showed that
Yeah.
shit, and I'm like, that is
It
Midnight
was an old
Madness.
man, by the way. It was an old man they
Or
finally
the
showed.
old man, yeah.
Yeah.
But like they showed that, and that was like the vibes. So I
Yeah.
don't get why Boy Kills World is the one that people are complaining about, when the one that was actually not good was the one that Finn Wolfhard directed. That's the bad one. I don't know why we're not. Probably because no one saw it after it, so no one's had time to talk shit about it yet. But that was the worst one I saw.
And the other thing is, When Evil Lurks was way more dark and nihilistic than Boy Kills World was. But that does lead me to my whole thing with Boy Kills World before we kind of wrap it up, which is that the substance, I think, comes in for the movie's all of 2 hours. The first hour and a half, you're kind of like, okay, this is just this is like something on the level of, I would even go so far as, because I love this movie, Shoot 'em Up with Clive Owen. It has that kind of vibe to it, and then you get to the last 25 minutes, and there's a shift. And I'm not going to say what happens, but it makes morally what happens in the movie deeper and darker and more fucked up. And
When it's revealed, especially in the last 20-ish,
without spoiling it though.
In the last 20 minutes, they show something off where it's like, oh, actually, like, that's wild. I think it's a movie that definitely needs to be seen twice, because going into the movie knowing the twist, I think it's going to solidify the movie as a whole.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's good. I would give it a thumbs up. I think I recommend it. I think it's not a movie that I would say no, like, you should skip. I think if you're looking for something fun, just watch it because it's fun.
I think it's safe to say that this week there's not going to be a lot of thumbs down.
It may be, except for one or two. It depends. It depends if we throw in the one I suggested as well. But the next one, this is recent. I think I saw it. It came out 2 weeks ago, and I've seen it a couple times so far. I watched it for 420 because I thought it was a perfect choice for that, and it was. And that was Abigail. Abigail went crazy.
Yeah, I think it's. I'm leading this one now, right?
Sure, we're gonna go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so Abigail is directed by Radio Silence, the amazing Radio Silence, and is in the same universe as one of my favorite horror films, Ready or Not,
which I love. Because the exploding bodies look exactly the same, and I'm like, yep, it's the same universe. The physics are the same.
The dumbass post, painting on the wall. They kind of imply that he's like the great great grandfather of Abigail. That's what I'll say, is that it's the dumbass. But I also like the most Canadian movie to ever Canadian. Like, Mrs. McMurray is freaking the cokehead sister-in-law in it. In which? In Ready or Not. It's Mrs. McMurray.
Oh yeah. It's so Toronto. No, but Abigail, great.
It is, it's a classic story of a simple plan going awry because the little girl that they happen to abduct turns out to be a vampire and is not quite a little girl. And okay, so I have to say, I love this movie. This is another one that's definitely a hard love. And what I love about this movie, I think this movie lives or dies by who plays Abigail. This Alicia Weir kid. Between this, Matilda, and Wicked Little Letters, this kid is one of our best child actors right now.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because it came out the same week as Late Night with the Devil, and those are two girls who are now doing other things that were Matilda, and now they're doing like fucked up horror movies, and I love that.
I didn't.
Yeah, and it's a funny movie. I don't know if I would say a hard love on it. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. I think it's a fantastic movie. It might be my favorite Radio Silence film, just because I think that it's got this chaotic energy that I really love.
I think Ready or Not is a little better, just a little.
You think so? Yeah. It's. I would say it's still like off the wall crazy. There's little things in the movie I think are great and solidified a lot of what I loved about the movie, like the relationship between Kevin Durand and Catherine Newton is really great.
That was kind of heartbreaking.
It's the heart of the movie, and then you have stuff like little jokes, like the Don Rickles joke is so funny. Like I don't know, maybe it was because of how I was when I was watching it, but like hearing Angus Cloud say, "Who the fuck is Don Rickles?" was so funny to me. I think there's little writing points in this movie, like scenes that are really well written in a comedy standpoint,
the
uh,
the line I
like
always go back
which
to is,
vampire are we? Those are fucking
I have some
onions.
garlic, and like, those are fucking
Fucking
onions.
onions. I love that line. That's like the best line in the movie. I think she's great. Relate to her the most. But no, like it's a movie that lives and dies off of the group of people. And I
Yeah,
think it's an ensemble piece. It's not a strong story because
right.
it's very basic,
Yeah,
but what makes it interesting is that the cast, the crew of 4 people and Abigail that are like the mains are
yeah.
like all really good, all really, really great. Angus Cloud is okay. I don't think
This was
he's
my
strong
introduction to
though,
Angus Cloud, and I
which is
thought, which is
I would
tragic because
say
he
he's
died.
way better in Euphoria, I would say. He's a more
Mhm.
strong character in Euphoria, but I think he's interesting, but he serves a certain purpose to, like, indicate that violence is happening. Same with
Mhm.
the other guy that I can't remember what his actual actor name is, that just kinda dies. Like, they're there
Yeah.
to just set it up, but everyone else, I think, is, like, a
Mhm.
stellar 5
Kevin
collection of
Durant is really
actors.
good.
He's yeah.
Catherine Newton, and we're not going to talk about it on this week's show. We might do it for Home Media Minute when it's on
Mhm.
DVD. But Lisa Frankenstein, I think, is also a really freaking good
Yeah,
movie
yeah,
that
yeah.
a lot of
I
people have
still need
skipped.
to do a review of that. I need to go into the back catalog of stuff I've seen this year. Lisa Frankenstein's on that list. I'll probably get a review up there soon, but I
Mhm.
think that she's definitely going there for in terms of like
Oh yeah,
quality right now.
Scream
Where
Queen. Yeah,
yeah, she's the new. Her and Melissa Barrera are like 2 of the new Scream Queens right now of
yeah,
like this generation. I think that's really really cool.
yeah.
Um, no, I think it's a fun movie. It's the gore is really cool in it. It's
Mhm.
funny, of course. The main girl is like really good in it, and that strengthens the movie even
Oh yeah.
more. That you have this little girl that actually can act in a horror movie.
Well, the thing with Alicia Weir that I think really sells it is the fact that when she is just an innocent little girl,
It
she's
works.
she's cute. So like when
Yeah,
she does those parts, you
yeah.
actually care for her. And then when she turns into a
And
demon,
she's
you're
menacing, you're
scared of
like,
her. She's
"Oh,
intimidating.
yeah."
Right.
And she does that, and you're like, "How does these 4 people have a hard time dealing with this little girl?" And you have, like, the scene of her talking in the cage of like, "Ah, this is what I love to do." I'm like, "Oh, I get it. She's fucking with all of you. Like, she's
Right.
doing a good job with this."
She's playing with her
And
food.
it's another. I would put it in the same vein of Boy Kills World of don't
Mhm.
go into the movie expecting this complex narrative driven masterpiece.
It's a B movie.
Just go in wanting to have fun. They're both B
Yeah.
movies. Yeah, they're both
Right.
very much modern 80s VHS rented at the video store type movies.
Yeah.
And I think
Drive-in movies.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If 70s like exploitation, weird shit like
Mhm.
that. Like if that's what you want, this is kind of what you're getting. And I think it does a good job with that. I would say thumbs up to Abigail. I think that
Yeah.
it's a good movie. I would say check it out. It's on digital now, so you can like watch it anywhere
Oh
really.
yeah.
Um,
It'll be on Peacock before too long
it'll be
too.
on Peacock soon. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Next one, I put Love Lies Bleeding.
You can
Another
lead. I
one
want you to lead that one.
I wanted to talk about this one for a while. This was a review all my followers wanted me to talk about just because
Mm.
everyone was interested in like my thoughts on it. It's you know it's very much old, very I would say old Cohen brothers,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Blood Simple. It's very much a Blood Simple, except it's set in a small town, and you have a lesbian romance, you have some body horror, and you have some crimes going on, and it's like Badlands. They're getting tangled in this weird stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it's I don't know what I should say in a way that is not spoiler because this is another movie that there are genuine body horror moments I didn't expect, and my jaw was dropped.
Oh yeah.
Anytime they started playing Throbbing Gristle's Hamburger Lady, I knew I some fucking shit was about to go down. I'm like, nah, bro, this is like not okay. It's a really good movie. If I'm gonna take A24's releases so far, my ranking of them would probably be TV Glow would be the best one they've dropped so far. And then I think I would put Civil War and Love Lies Bleeding. Love Lies Bleeding would be my least favorite A24 film this year,
Mhm.
but it's still really good. I think it's still like a really stellar film that's, you feel the tension, you feel the romance, you feel the passion. I think it's a great, like, kinda, like, steamy romance thriller that harkens back to, like, the weird shit that would come out in the '80s,
Mhm.
and I think and it's set in the '80s, so you got that too, so it's like a period piece as well, so it kinda works on that level too. Uh, Great performances.
Oh yeah.
Katie O'Brien is standout. I think Katie if people are not watching Katie O'Brien after this movie, I don't know what. With her also being in Twisters this year, like,
Mhm.
come on. Like, it definitely gonna be in the lineup of have to watch everything that she's in. But it's an interesting, kind of mean-spirited, kind of dingy and dirty, like the way I felt when I watched Saint Maud for the first time. It's, like, very dingy like that,
Oh
but
yeah.
in a more cinematic way, because I feel like Saint Maud kinda was still kind of unconventional art house. This one's more, like,
More
focused, until it gets
accessible.
surreal. Yeah, it's more accessible until it gets really surreal and fucking weird, which it does, like, a
It
lot of
really
the
does
second
too.
half of the movie, but no, you liked it too. I know you liked it too. Yeah.
Um, I loved it. I'll say this:
Yeah.
Rose Glass, I had
Mhm.
my eye on from Saint Maud. It made my best of list
Yeah.
that year, and what I think this movie has in common with Saint Maud, and why I think it really works, is about women and their women who want control of themselves and their sexuality,
Mhm. Yeah.
and how they're villainized in society. I
It's
think
true.
it, and I think that there is a certain level of the fact that women in this film's regard feel the need to literally become the most monstrous version of themselves in order to be seen by society is kind of the idea.
Yeah.
I think that that's a in a weird way.
The way that, society portrays people in certain boxes as evil. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that Katie O'Brien is it's this is the stuff that movie stars are made of. I mean, this
Mhm.
performance, and she's terrifying and sympathetic and
Mhm.
funny and just incredibly charismatic. You really like her. Kristen Stewart, Twilight Who, like Kristen Stewart is great
Not
in
her
every.
best performance, but it's still
No,
really good. I like it. It's not Spencer, though. It's not that. It's
no,
not but it's still good. I
it's
think
not
it's
going to win
still
her an
great.
Oscar, but
No, no.
it's a
This
good.
movie's not getting Oscars.
No.
If A24 wants to jump in the Oscar boat this year, they have to do it with, like, Sing Sing or, like,
Mhm.
or Civil War TV
Yeah.
Glow. None of their other stuff is prepped for Oscars this year. Like, it's not.
On the documentary side, Steve Martin, maybe.
Maybe. I feel like but Steve I feel like if you're the 2 documentaries I've seen recently, Steve Martin versus The Contestant, I
Yeah.
think The Contestant would get a best documentary
I
nod
think it
first,
absolutely
just
should.
because
Yeah.
I think it's more relevant to our time, and also I said this in my little review I did of Steve Martin. Really loved the first half because it was his
Mhm.
experimental stoner like comedy where he'd go on stage and do dumb shit, and I thought that was really interesting to watch. But the second half was so boring to me. At least with the
Yeah.
contestant, it was this consistent like, what the fuck am I watching? I think that's more likely to get the
Mhm.
Oscar choice, but Love Lies Bleeding has no chance of getting really
Yeah.
anything from the Oscars. Maybe score, maybe something to do with cinematography if they're being bold about it, but I ultimately don't think that I think it kind of came and went, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have the longevity that something like Civil War has, because Civil War is like, or even I saw the TV Glow. I don't think it has
Yeah.
the longevity that those films do, but I still really like it. And I recently dropped it down to a 9 with Civil War because I saw TV glow, and I'm like, well, that's like way better than these ones, so I had to drop it
Yeah.
down. But it's still really good. Like Love Lies Bleeding is still a fantastic movie, but it's one that I could see people not being into it because it's very stylized and there's a very
Yeah.
much a clear focus on what it's trying to do.
I think that there's a certain subsection of DeviantArt where this is going to be their new favorite
Oh,
movie.
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I will
It's
say
very
that.
there's
That's what,
the last 10 minutes veer into fetish content in a way that I
oh
didn't
yeah.
expect. I'm like, "Oh, okay, we're doing this now. I guess this is just fucking happening." Okay, but I didn't have a problem with it because I think it worked for the
Mhm.
narrative, but no, like I recommend it. I give it a
Oh yeah.
thumbs up. I think it's a great movie that everyone should check out if you're interested in weird, trippy crime films, because
Hmm.
that's really what you're getting into. Uh, I think it's great. I would say, sure, check it out.
Just for Katie O'Brien's performance, it's worth
Oh, hell
seeing
yeah. If you're not
alone.
interested in anything else, just watch it for her because she's
Yeah.
great in it. Yeah.
So now we're moving on. Speaking of Civil War, that's our
Yeah,
next
Civil
film.
War. Which I
This
will
comment
say
section will be
I
fun.
do I do like it better than Love Lies Bleeding because I think it has more of an impact on me of a movie than it does. The Civil War has to be the most interesting discourse of the year when it comes to films
Yeah.
because I loved it,
Oh yeah, me
but
too.
I'm also looking at it from a perspective of
Oh, Jesus.
I'm the outsider Canadian who always looks at America and says, "Guys, you gotta straighten the fuck up. You're gonna get us all in trouble one of these days." And that's
Right.
kind of happening right now. So I thought it was a really important movie, but there's a lot of people I know who are giving it really bad scores, like really, really low,
Mm,
like half star, 1 star. And the reason why was the film was too realistic for them to the
yeah.
point where they past that and just enjoy it as a movie, which I did. It's but on the level of relevancy, it is super relevant. It's a
Hmm.
super important topic to discuss. And I think the overall presentation that Garland does is fantastic, and it's
Right.
probably his best film, which is unfortunate that it's his last because it's like
Yeah.
his best one so far.
I still think Ex Machina is hard to top because I also just
Yeah,
rewatched it on the big screen again for the first
that's
time.
true. I never saw it on the big screen. Yeah.
Well, I saw it in IMAX recently, and I
Yeah.
just it is a movie where Ex Machina. My thing with Civil War, I love Civil War. I
Mhm.
really respect the hell out of it. I think the acting, especially Kirsten Dunst, is
Oh,
just
yeah. And
and
even I
Jesse
think
Plemons.
Kaylee Spaney being the
Mm,
basically the audience put into the movie, I thought was
mm,
really interesting because I think it's ultimately a movie about how when we get older or when we are not kids anymore, we quickly become desensitized to the world around us and it
mm,
changes us as people. And I think that that's an interesting mindset to be that we are Kaylee Spaney and we're just
mm.
watching this crazy shit happen and being like, oh yeah, this is just a regular Sunday for some people. Like,
I like the development that essentially by the end of this adventure, Kaylee Spaney is becoming Kirsten Dunst, and in
yeah,
a strange way, so is Wagner Moura's character because his character has
it's very much a generational thing about how the
right.
generation before us will leave, but we ultimately somehow always become the same people as
It's
time goes on.
it kind of does for photojournalist what All Quiet on the Western Front does for the soldier, in the sense of
Yeah.
going in with idealistic ideals and being
Mhm.
desensitized by the horrors they witness and
It's
see.
very much I would say in the same way Come and See. It's very
Yeah,
and he's talked about how Come and See is, like, the biggest inspiration for this movie. I'm like, it basically is Come and See if you mashed it with Apocalypse Now and National Lampoon's Vacation. That's
mhm.
basically what the movie you're watching is, which is it's wild.
The most
It's
fucked up road trip
surprisingly
comedy ever.
really it is funny. Like, it's a
Right.
funny movie, but you'll see something funny and then you'll see just like 200 dead bodies and then you'll have like a really sad psalm
Oh yeah.
moment and you're like what am I watching, like it's I can see people feeling like it's too mixed. Like my dad's biggest problem was that the movie ends the way that it does. I didn't
I
have a problem because
love the end.
my mom said it right. She said the world doesn't have an ending that's just wrap it in a bow, and the whole thing is he's just trying to show us the real world, and I think he
That
does it really well.
the last shot of this movie.
Yeah.
I have to say this is why I'm a little bit of less enthusiastic about the about. I'm saying more of an appreciation center of it when I got into the
Mhm.
car and the first time someone asked me about it, it was I saw it in IMAX. When it
Yeah.
was over, I said that is a great movie that I don't want to put myself through again anytime soon. And the thing
I
is
feel
that
that. Everyone
last,
has those movies. I have that with Seven. I
yeah,
can't do
that
Seven again.
The Revenant is one of those for me. I just can't
Yeah.
do it again. But that last shot when you see, let's
Mhm.
just put it this way, the photograph developing and what's on that photograph, it lingers in your mind.
Yeah.
It brings up real world things, and then on top of that, the choice of "Dream Baby Dream" by Suicide as the end credit song is perfect.
I love people were telling me that they hate the needle drops, but
Mm,
when they I forgot what the song's called, Rebel something, but
mhm.
when they're driving through the the wreckage of all the cars and shit,
Oh
and it's the
yeah,
Suicide track, I've been listening to that. That's been on heavy rotation since I saw the movie. Like,
just that
that is a good fucking song.
I couldn't help but think when I saw that image of Abu Ghraib. There's just the way that it's put in the way that it's the whole movie is what I love about this movie is the one of the major things that people don't like about it, which is the fact
Mhm.
that they say, "Oh, it's apolitical." It's like it's not so much. I think that it's apolitical. I think it's very clear what Garland's politics are. I think what it is
Yeah.
it's the Dunkirk effect of we are dropping you into a war in progress,
Yeah.
and you're as confused as everybody else. It's you don't have
And
time for politics.
it's
You're
a
on the run.
warning, and that's the
Right.
thing too, is that he's not trying to say that one side is right and one side is wrong. He's
Right.
just trying to showcase what's gonna happen if certain situations go too far.
Right.
What could end up happening? And I think the movie and the Jesse Plemons scene, that scene and the scene of they're shooting at us, we're shooting at them, are the
Right.
2 scenes that I think represent the real purpose of the movie really well. And it seems like a lot of people are misunderstanding that, but I think a lot of it is it's so realistic that I think a lot of people, especially I'll say it, left-wing Americans, are
Mm.
not vibing with it in some ways. Eh, the ones I've seen, because they feel like it's a dangerous movie, but it's not dangerous to say that, like, everyone's having issues and they need to fix themselves. Like, it's not it's
I think
it's
it's the Joker
it's a
thing of
deeper
like
movie. Yeah.
I think it's the Joker thing though of when a movie comes out that portrays something that the right side can misinterpret. I think that there is this fear of
Mhm.
there is this wanting to straitjacket something that is
Yeah,
clearly on the right side of history but could influence the people on the wrong side of
that
history.
is
When in
true. Yeah.
actuality, movies shouldn't censor themselves for the sake of a crazy audience ever.
Yeah.
And, the fact that they didn't with this, and the same with Joker, made those movies good. But what
Yeah.
the thing with Civil War is, again, this is disclaimer parody, so I'm just going to quote Gene Siskel. I haven't felt a kill quite like I did watching this movie. The way the people are shot, the sound design,
Yeah.
the way
Well,
that
and the sound design's it feels like you're
right,
in the war zone. I
right,
and I saw a post from a veteran who was talking about the movie, who was in, like, Iraq, and he was talking about the movie, and he's like, "I appreciate this film because it's the realest depiction of war I've seen in my life."
right,
There's no sugar that's another thing too, is I think that some Americans are too used to the sugar-coated war films that they're given by America.
yeah.
Um, because my favorite ones are like Apocalypse Now, I think is great.
Mm.
Come and See. I love the war films
Let there
that
be
are
light. I put in
yeah,
that
they're
headline.
just gonna be honest about the fact
Yeah,
that it's fucked up and they need to not do it. But people are used to the whole Saving Private Ryan energy of, oh, we're the good guy. Yeah, yeah. So when they have a movie that's basically saying that everyone fucked up their country, they're not a
right.
lot of people don't want to hear that. But I think it's an honest depiction of modern society in a way that is shocking to too many people to the point that instead of fixing it, they're kind of like
Mm.
blaming the movie. I'm like, but I think it's fantastic. I think it's a
It's
great movie.
it's one of the best films of the year for sure. I
Yeah.
have to say, I and then I guess we'll move on. Dude, I think the one we were gonna you put as an also we need to do next week because I think that to talk about it would require us to do it next week. I really do.
What do you mean?
Just because of the probably the debate we're gonna have over it.
I think we should do it for fun. I think after the last one, I think we're gonna debate on the last two. I just think it'd be interesting to do, so let's go for it. Let's
Okay.
do them.
Okay. Well,
Okay. So are we moving? So Civil
well,
War. What's your final thoughts? I
oh,
recommend it. Thumbs up.
thumbs up. It's a weird comparison. I walked out of this movie kind of feeling like this is a weird comparison, but Elephant, the Gus Van Sant film, in the sense
I get
of
that. Yeah.
it's not. It's an anti. Again, to steal a line from Roger Ebert in his review of Elephant, and I had that in mind when I watched it. And he's absolutely right. Is the sensationalism is removed because death feels like death should feel. It's cold. It's final.
Yeah.
It's not sensationalized. It's not a video game. It's people's lives.
And I think
Right.
I've never thought about that, but yeah, I would put that Come and See an Elephant in a
Right.
trifecta of movies that are just like, yeah, death is really bad, and
It's
we
belief.
should not be glorifying stuff like this in the way
Right.
that sometimes it happens. No, it's
Right.
good. Civil War, it's coming on digital soon. It's in theaters. I think everyone should check it out. It's great. It's another A24 win. A24 is winning when it comes to the boutique labels of films this year. Neon might catch up at some point, but we'll see.
Well, in a future episode coming up, I think in July, we're gonna maybe take a new release break to just do the best and worst films of the year so far show. In
We
July,
could.
I think.
I think we could. I think we could do double. We could double up on something and do that.
Oh yeah. Maybe we do the best one week, the worst the next, or something. I don't know. But so there are a lot of ones I want to talk about. One of them we can't get to on the show, but Perfect Days I really want to talk about.
Hell yeah. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Okay, next one's Late Night with the Devil.
I want you to lead it because I want my thoughts to just kind of come out. But go ahead.
Okay. It's a real good movie. I think it's one that it's a good movie. Like my mom has been telling me for since it's been out, I really want to see this one. I really want to see this one. And it's a great movie. It's a movie about a second place live talk show host late night who wants to win. So he decides we're going to talk to the devil live on television to get the ratings up. And it's interesting because it's a movie about entertainment industry greed. It's a movie about basically selling yourself to become a star, because in the first 10 minutes, they're very clear that he's a part of the Illuminati and he's like a part of Bohemian Grove and shit like that. So like it's kind of like he sold himself, or like him and his wife.
Basically.
Yeah, 100%. It's this idea of like he wants this so bad that he's willing to put everyone in harm for it. And it's cool because most of it is a recreation of a 70s TV show that I think they did really well. And then once in a while, they'll get really trippy with it, where you're like, what? Like the last 10 minutes, first time I watched it, I couldn't fucking tell you what happened the last 10 minutes. I was so like, my brain was going everywhere. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And I saw it a second time and it makes complete sense. I think the structure of it is amazing, that you start off with little bits of things that's a little bit eerie, and then you get into the crazy shit, like second half of the movie. You see the worms, you see the crazy death shit, like you see stuff.
All
like,
I could think of was too many cooks.
Yes, it does. It's the too many cooks formula, where it starts out as a standard thing, but halfway through you're like, this is really weird. And then you get to the last like bit of it and you're like, oh, this is like so fucking crazy. No, I think it's fantastic. David Desmelchin is proving that he's a great actor.
Oh my God.
And this is one of those ones that you take it for the ride and you just kind of exist in it for a little bit, and it messes with you. And I love it for that. I think it's it's one of the two. Okay. The four movies I have at 505 right now are TV Glow, Late Night with the Devil, Aggro Drift, and People's Joker for this year. Late Night with the Devil's not going down. The other ones, like Civil War went down, Love Lies Bleeding went down, Boy Kills World went down. Late Night with the Devil ain't going down. I think it is a amazing use of lower budget cinema. I think it proves that if you have a good story, and you do it in an interesting way, that's all you really need.
I'm so glad you queued it up. Full disclosure, I'm just gonna ring the bell now. I've seen this movie 4 times.
Hmm.
It's my favorite movie of 2024 so far. It's my number one.
Yeah,
There are very few movies that are in you'd call genre movies. I always like more moving the that are so good. I want them to be part of my personality. Late Night with the
yeah,
Devil is that movie this year for me. I was floored the first time I saw it, and every time I watch it,
yeah,
I get something else out of it. It is
yeah,
so well structured. The setup of this movie with Michael Ironside. Speaking of Canada, Michael
yeah,
Ironside narrating this little documentary in the first 10 minutes, and then you go through this whole thing. The fact that it's like found footage, BTS stuff, and then you go
hmm,
to the other stuff. The cast across the board is fantastic. David Desmalchian is great.
yeah,
Laura Gordon, who's been one of the more
yeah.
Australian actresses. Also,
Ingrid Torelli
Ingrid Torelli,
as the fucking
terrifying.
15-year-old girl, because
Yeah.
she acts like a normal 70s girl, and then you get
Yeah.
into the demon shit and you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of, it's wild. It is really, really.
Little things like the way she looks into the camera.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
I
are
said
terrifying.
that's one of my favorite things I said in my review, is that when the camera is pointed at her, she's not looking at people talking. She's
Right.
looking at you through the barrel of the camera, and I'm like, that is so scary. That makes it way scarier than
This whole movie is
anything.
what I love about this movie is first off, it's one of the few films of any genre that I think gets TV right. If you've ever taken a TV production class, I think that this is one of the
It
rare times
does. It
it
does. Yeah,
does.
it
Ugh.
100% does.
And the whole show structure of this talk show and the fact that the certain people on there, they really thought through which guests were should show up in which order before they get to Ingrid Torelli's character.
Well,
They really thought
it's
through.
so perfectly. I think
Right.
that the most perfect part of this movie is the structure. I think the
Oh,
structure
absolutely.
lends itself so well to the concept that it does feel like you're watching something. And some people might say, "Oh, that means there isn't a lot of action in the first two acts." But to be honest, I think the one of the best parts of the movie is that it knows how to build the tension to the point where when you get to her,
You
you're
forget
like,
it's a horror
"Oh,
film.
there's a part of that, yes, you forget
Yeah.
it's a film. It starts to disconnect where you become part of the film,
You're
but
watching a
also
cheesy talk show for a while.
it
And I like
yeah,
that.
it feels like you discovered something on YouTube that you weren't supposed to
Mm,
see, and I feel like it brings you into the world really well, to the point that when you get there, you're already scared before she shows up because you know
mm,
something's gonna fucking happen, but
mm,
what is gonna happen? And it's an interesting use of postmodern nostalgia, but you
mm.
also throw in a criticism of that time period as well. And I find that fascinating, is that it's a love letter to the 70s, but it's
Mm.
also talking about the weird politics at the time period and
Yeah.
the underground, the nature of the
Satanic Panic.
underground. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that that's what is the strength of the movie.
I don't know if you've ever watched. There used to be a show that the Cinema Snob used to do called DVDR Hell, where he'd talk about like VHS rips he'd find of like religious propaganda documentaries and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Or stuff you'd find on that I find on Tubi all the time, those
Well,
made
like
in the
Deception
80s.
of a Generation and shit like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
This movie, there's some scenes. The thing that I love is that it uses the film production aspect to its advantage with, like, for instance, the cutaway to news footage that looks like something out of one of those DVDR Hell episodes, or something to the extent
Yeah.
of like the way they use instant replay and frame by frame for key moments of
That
it.
scene is so cool. The
Yeah.
frame by frame, the tension in that scene is so well built with the music that you're like, you feel it. You feel
Oh yeah.
every moment of that scene, and it is so impressive. The how and all about this AI shit. Like
Yeah.
I'm surprised people are complaining about the AI because
Barely noticeable.
it's barely noticeable.
Yeah.
And compare it to something I saw also, Aggro Drift. Aggro
Mm.
Drift uses it way more. It is
I need to
it
see Aggro
is
Drift still.
like on people's skin, their
Mm.
tattoo is always morphing AI video. And like a lot of the people's bodies, there's AI moving and stuff.
Mm.
So it's way more in the film. And I've heard no one complain about that, but they complained about this where it's like, oh, it's in like one scene in like for 2 seconds. Like,
I think, well, you know who had the best thoughts on this is Mark Kermode when he reviewed
yeah.
this. It was actually the week after he reviewed it because he does the box office top 10 where they do like a little
Mhm.
mini like recap reviews.
Kermode's
And,
cool. Yeah.
and they got to Late Night with the Devil, and he talked about the address the AI controversy, and he
Yeah.
says that people, what you need to understand is first off, it's a low budget movie. It couldn't
Yeah.
probably afford to do those effects
They
afterwards.
made it
Right,
before the discussion happened. The
right,
AI was in it before, like it was a film that was done being crafted in 2022
right,
because it premiered at South by Southwest and Sundance like
mm,
last year.
right.
So it's been it makes sense to argue if it's something that's genuinely like, oh, you
Like a
basically
Marvel
cut.
movie.
Yeah, like when they were
Yeah,
doing that with the secret or the wars, the secret invasion intro,
yeah.
that was AI. That's different because you are a company that can
You're
afford to
fucking
hire
Disney.
someone and
Right.
you don't do it. This I'm not, and I kept saying that on Twitter and people would misunderstand it, but I'm like, little films can get away with it because they don't
Right.
have the budget, and that's fine.
It's an
But
easy
no,
fix that doesn't cost anything.
don't let the AI sway an opinion about the film. I'd say
Yeah.
to the audience, I'd say watch it. It is a recommendation. It's a
It's one
thumbs
of the
up.
most
I think
creative movies ever that
it
just had
is.
a couple of
It's
AI.
what it's gonna be in my list probably of top 5, top 10 at the end
Oh
of the
yeah.
year. It will be at the top of the list somewhere unless I watch it again and it drastically changes how I feel about it. I think that most likely it will be in at least my top 10, if not my top 5 at the end of the year for
The
sure.
the best quote Mark Kermode said about it though, which I think is just really apt too, is he said that like, listen, guys, like being afraid of AI is like being afraid of Wednesday. It's going to come whether you like it or not.
We just need to learn how to
Right.
utilize it to our
Right.
extent. Yeah. Yeah.
Um. So yeah, big golden
Yeah.
thumbs up for that one.
I'd say I would say if I had to do a 2 thumbs up, I would say Late Night with the Devil gets a 2 thumbs up. It's the only one so far we've talked about where I would give it the 2
Oh, absolutely.
because it's just so well made.
All right, immaculate. So this movie,
It's gonna be fun to talk about.
there are two sexy nun movies that came out this year that were
Yeah.
bordering on NC-17 levels of mayhem and got wide releases and
There's no
featured
way this one was bordering NC-17. There's no
well
way.
well known, starring somewhat well known, attractive young TV starlets. Both of them are
Yeah.
very good. This is the best one.
Oh, you
The
think so?
First Omen was
I
a
heard
pleasant
I heard
surprise.
I heard First Omen was better from a lot of people, that it's like the
Well,
better film.
First Omen, I think, is better because it had the benefit of nobody expected it to be good at all, and the fact that it was actually really good was kind of
That's a
awesome.
good point. Yeah.
And also I think Nell Tiger Free's performance was a little more big than something like Sydney Sweeney's in
That's what
this,
I
but
heard.
but
Yeah.
at the same time, yeah, this movie is Sexy Nun
Mhm.
has an immaculate conception, but oh boy, it could be something not great. And a lot of the pro life uber evangelicals really hated this movie before seeing a frame of it.
Mhm. It's
Uh,
true. Which, and
yeah.
then if they see it, I feel like it's one of those movies that if they see it, they'll realize not to be scared of it because it's not impressive enough as a movie to make an impact in that way. I think that that's
Oh, really?
no. Okay, I'm gonna get all Ebert with this one.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna get all Ebert talking about what's the movie he infamously hated. I might get Blue Velvet a little bit with this one.
Oh no, not that. You didn't
Not
hate
that
it, did you?
I didn't hate the movie,
Okay.
but it's another I said this in my review. It's two movies that don't work together shoved into one. It's a Screen Gems horror film that has nothing going for it, and a edgelord fuckboy movie like a Serbian film put into one movie, but it never chooses what it wants to do. And I would actually prefer it do the Serbian film thing than it do the Screen Gems thing, because at least I would have left saying, yeah, they tried to go far with it, but whatever. Screen Gems horror movies are like bare minimum, nothing going on with them, not interesting, just
Look at
jump
Tara.
scare, jump scare. Look at Taro. Look at it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but I heard it's fucking dog shit.
Oh, it is the doggest of dog shit.
And I think Immaculate is not that bad, but when it was being, I felt the same way about Dune 2. And the one we're going to talk about after this one, I think there's just been once in a while, there's like 4 or 5 movies every year where I would say that they are not, people like to say that they're like amazing. And I'm like, nah, they're not. This is one of them this year. This movie is not impressive. It's got a couple scenes that look interesting, but even like the final scene of the movie, people keep saying, "Oh my god, it's crazy, it's crazy. Someone got sick watching." Nah, bro. That shit is so not impressive to me, to the point like, and they're comparing this to like Terrifier 2. Yo,
Or Mother.
Terrifier 2 and Mother were fucking crazy. The shit
Yeah.
you see in that movie is like, oh my god, like that is insane. This is a movie where its scariest scene is an off-screen kill.
Yeah.
And that's not impressive to me in the horror realm. And it's not one that I would. It's one of those ones where I don't even think I should give it a thumbs down, because it's not that I hated the movie, but it's like an indifference of like, this did nothing for me in a level. I didn't get anything from it, and it just exists,
I really liked it. But here's the thing. I understand where you're coming from. It's not going to be as big a debate, I think, as
Hey, but you also
our
like Big
next
Pig in the
movie.
City. I'm just kidding. What was the movie that like Ebert always made fun of Siskel for liking? That was like, but you like this one.
They both loved Big Pig in the City. No, it was Cop and a Half.
Cop and a Half. It's like, but you liked Cop and a Half, you stupid. You liked Cop and a Half?
No,
No,
literally,
yeah.
People are going to be like, yeah, well, you gave 3.5 stars to movie 43, so what the fuck do you know? It's like, that is misunderstood.
Yeah.
This movie,
that's me. If like you gave Chopping Mall a 5, fuck you. It's like, no, but I don't like it. I think it's a movie that basically it's a guy that hits you up on your DMs. That's like, I got a big cock, I want to fuck, and then you meet them and they're ugly, and that's such a weird comparison. But really, what I'm trying to say is that it's fronting that it's a fucked up movie and a wild movie, but in actuality, it's not. It's just so run of the mill that it's not even funny.
I'm giving this movie a thumbs up, but I will say this: it did suffer in the fact that I literally saw it a day before I saw Late Night with the Devil, and I do think that it suffers a comparison.
Yeah.
But my thing is, Sydney Sweeney is so committed to this performance, and I think she's a fine actress. And I think that she brings a lot to it. Also, if we're gonna do
she's okay. I'd say she's okay, because I don't think that she's as much of an interesting actor as people want to give her credit for. I think that she's had more bad roles than good. I really liked Reality, but she's had more roles that I think are absolute terrible roles.
I liked Anyone But You, but I understand that that's more of a guilty pleasure on my part.
What are you gonna say about Cop and a Half? Cop and a Half?
No, I was gonna say it's like, what do you know, Becca? You liked Rebel Moon.
Here's what I'll say. I liked it when it first came out. I have no desire to watch the second one, and I never want to watch the first one again. It's dropped down in my star rating quite a bit since I saw it.
If anything, it's worse. And
it is. It's
though I will say this: it's not my dog of the week, but it was close. It was close. But this movie, but in all seriousness, though, I understand why people don't love this one. I don't know why. I think I was in the theater by myself. I kind of was able to just kind of take it all in. And again, I kind of went into it like a generic horror movie, and it had a little more artistry than that. I think the filmmaking was done really well.
I would say so. I will give it this. Some of the shots are really interesting to look at, but I don't think there's enough creativity going on behind the scenes for me to say that it's worth watching. but I don't know. I don't think it's got some impressive shots. Don't get me wrong. There are some cool shots in there where like, okay, there
Right.
was thought put into it, but it's not something that I think is worth checking out, especially in the world of A24 and Neon.
Yeah,
When you look at Neon's lineup and they got Long Legs coming out, they got Cuckoo coming up. Immaculate does not snuff any of those. You know what I mean? Like it's
it
not
falls
close
into
to
that
any of
category
that.
of neon films like It Lives Inside, where it's not bad. It's just like
It's just kind of there, or it's a
it feels like a
movie
wide
that
release movie.
yeah, it feels like a streaming movie. Like it would have
Right.
done good as a this is a Prime Video exclusive, you know, like
Yeah.
but
But also apparently the new thing that if you want to end a friendship would be from recent former associates would be, you liked Unfrosted? Well, fuck you, and fuck the parents who spawned you in the back of a
I
Volkswagen
need
Beetle.
I need to see that because I'm hearing a lot of mixed stuff about it, but
I liked it.
I'm assuming I'm not gonna like it from what I heard. It just seems to it's no Blackberry from what it
Oh no
sounds
no,
like.
it's but here's the thing. That was the biggest source of criticism. Do you want to know what basically caused the fallout? Because fuck it, we're here.
Okay.
Is my suggestion that you do know that this is not supposed to be Blackberry. It's supposed to be a satire, right? You think we don't know what satire is? Well, fuck
Oh,
you. It's like
that's
that kind of
funny.
bullshit. But no,
Yeah.
it's. But my thing, like, okay, yeah, it is. When you compare it to like A24, it's not. Okay, now go ahead and piss me off by telling me how much you didn't like our next film. Go ahead.
Okay, our next film is
This might be our
our
first and last episode.
our next film is Challengers.
Yes.
Uh, okay, I went into this as a Luca Guadagnino fan. I love his Suspiria. Call Me by Your Name is really good, and
Bones and
same
all.
with Bones and All. But I feel like I have not had the urge to watch Bones and All again, so the quality might be lessened from what I remember. But I went into it being like, I like what this guy does. He does some cool stuff. The problem is that the movie is trying to front itself in the advertisements as something that it's not. And
But
I
that's
think
not the movie's fault, though.
it's not, but
Right.
I think showing the POV of the ball in the trailer was not something they should have done because I went into the movie thinking, oh, it's going to look really trippy. It's going to look kind of cool. And like what Suspiria did, I'm excited for that. But really, the cool part of the movie is the last 10 minutes. The rest of the movie is really hard to get through in the sense that you want to get to that point, but it's taking so damn long, and you're going on this journey with three really unlikable fucking characters that you don't want to spend time with. That at first you're like, oh, they're kind of goofy, but then after time you're like, it's like watching a Chris Chan video. You just don't like these fucking people. You're like, okay, this is the saddest life I've seen in my life. Like, this is the saddest existence that these people have. And it's not, but that's not a problem. You can have unlikable characters that are
Worst
really
person in
cool.
the world being a prime
Worst
example.
person in the world,
Right.
House that Jack built, Titan, even. You're
Yep.
following a serial killer, but it's
Yeah.
interesting because you like the character.
Yeah.
I did not like the characters in this movie. I think the movie, this is one that I would say, uh, Immaculate at least had stuff going on for it where I'd be like, that's respectable. I'd say this is worse than Immaculate. This might get the thumbs down for me. This might get the Ebert thumbs down because like it's not interesting. It's a lot of scenes of just people talking and you couldn't give a fuck what they were talking about. And all you wanted to see was the really cool tennis scenes. And there's one cool tennis scene, and it's the last 10 minutes of the movie. And you leave literally my whole family, we all left the movie going, huh, yeah, it was well shot, maybe, but like it was so fucking boring. And we literally went and saw um the Fall Guy. We went and saw the Fall Guy the week
Yeah.
after, and we left the movie, and we were like, "Thank God it wasn't like Challengers." It was not good. It's not a good movie. It's probably his worst fucking movie since Before a Bigger Splash. It's his worst project. maybe possibly ever. I would say it is not
Becca,
a good movie.
Becca, you ignorant slut. Once again, you've missed the point completely. No, I'm kidding. No. Top 5 of the year. I love
You
this
think
movie.
top 5 of the year?
Yeah, I love this movie.
I gave this movie a 3 stars, and that's how I like it, or a 2.5, and that's how I feel about
6
this
out
movie.
of 5. It's that
6.
good. I gotta tell you, my friend. Okay, we're gonna quote Gene Siskel again. You know they say you miss the boat, you miss the harbor, Becca. You miss the harbor. This movie. This is the first episode and the last episode. You're out of the group chat. No, I'm just kidding. No, but
Oh
seriously.
yeah, not on the show ever again. Wouldn't that be wild if Ebert got kicked off when he hated Blue Velvet, and they're like,
No.
you can't be on this fucking show anymore.
No,
like,
no, because unlike some people I know, I am not gonna shit my diaper because one person doesn't like a movie that I like.
Yeah, well, I got blocked by a dude on Twitter recently because I told him we were having a debate about Civil War, and he started crying about it, and I'm like, guy, like, you cry about everything when we talk about movies, basically trying to tell him that like shit ain't that serious, but he got real mad at me and blocked me because he's a fucking child about it. But like, no, but I didn't like Challengers. I think it will go on my list of critics get it, that's cool, but I'm just one critic that just I don't see it.
I'm a critic that got it. First off, Luca Guadagnino, what's brilliant about his films, and I think Challengers is definitely one of his films, undeniably.
Yeah.
Is he brings sex to everything in a film environment where sexlessness is the rule. Where generations of people are being raised on the most sanitized, G-rated stuff. Even when nobody is naked, there is a sense of sex in the air in this movie. And what I love about this,
I would say that about Love Lies Bleeding. There's a real connection there, and a real sexual tension in that movie that I feel like that reminded me of like what's his name, Paul Verhoeven, like that's the type of Verhoeven. That's the shit that Love Lies Bleeding reminded me of. Challengers, I feel like even the steamy scenes, I don't think I felt a connection between them. Maybe because I don't think I could believe what was going on. Like, I don't think it was believable to me. Maybe.
But I think it also helps if you are someone who has grown up in an environment where people you know and love are athletes, because I think that also is a big factor of it. What I love about this movie, first off, see the movie, but then immediately when you do, and I say wait to see the movie if you haven't seen this yet, watch the Dua Lipa Challengers skit from SNL last week, because it is.
Oh, was it good?
Where they do what are those terrifying little trinkets that teenage girls really like? Those little baby dolls with the penis. What do they call those? Like, you haven't heard of this? This is apparently a TikTok thing. They have these little Japanese dolls that are like baby dolls. They have like big heads and little tiny little.
Really?
Things. Yeah, and they like love it.
Is this some anime shit? This is for people that are like, this is some weeaboo shit.
It's weird as fuck. They did a skit where it was Challengers, but it was from the perspective of Dua Lipa is Zendaya's character, and it's like her and I think it's like what's his name? Andrew Dismukes, and then it's like Bowen Yang as one of those little baby dolls. And so it's a weird thing, and so it's basically portraying that Dua Lipa is evil, like Zendaya was, and she's like manipulating these two things, and it's very funny. She has the sunglasses, and every time she walks,
I will say the scenes in this movie, the tennis scenes, are not as compelling as playing against Matt in Wii Sports. I think that's a way more compelling, heart racing situation is watching you fight Matt and try to beat Matt on Wii Sports Resort. That's really how I would say it.
I haven't.
I just don't. I don't think the vibe's not there. That's the thing. Is it's a movie that should work on the vibes, but the vibes don't come through to me, and I just don't like it for that reason.
I just completely was enveloped in this movie. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was the tennis scenes were really well done. But I think that's not really what the point was. I think the whole idea is that it
Yeah.
wasn't a tennis movie. It was the tennis scenes when they appear are well done, but I think what
Yeah.
it's really it is a slow burn character study of these three people, and I think
Yeah.
that the way that it's put together, I think can we at least agree on this? Zendaya, Feist, and O'Connor are all really terrific in the film.
I think they're good. I don't know if I'd put them in the same realm as Katie O'Brien or David Desmelchin or even like some of the cast of Abigail, or even like I don't think I'd put the Kaylee
Twos,
Spaney. Yeah,
yes.
I would say the pair in TV Glow. I wouldn't put it in that
Mm-hmm.
list of performances this year where I'm like these are like the top tier, but I would say they're still good. I don't think they're
Especially
bad.
Zendaya.
I just think that maybe it's also to do with the script is not the greatest. I think maybe that's a thing too, is that you can feel that it's a first script. And if we're really going to compare the two, Celine Song made a much more compelling movie out of the two that are the two love triangle threesome films between the two of them. Past Lives is a much better film.
I did find it funny. Happened to be watching Your Movie Sucks. The
Yeah.
Hidden the Gang were doing. I think they were doing Baldur's Gate, and there was a moment where they talk about because Adam really liked Challengers and he really liked Past Lives, and he was talking about how there were a couple, and he says, and they're both about like weird thruple dynamics. He goes, maybe it's their kink. Maybe they have to make movies to like
about each other. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe. I'll just say it's a movie that I feel like maybe in the hands of some other people, it could have been something that I really liked, but I think
Maybe in
that
the hands of a female director.
maybe, because then it would have been a different perspective. I don't know why I thought of it, but Julia Ducournau could have done something more interesting with it, but it would have had body horror in it, but it would have been. She could have done an athlete movie,
If you're going to primarily set your movie in the late 2000s and have S&M by Rihanna in the trailer, it should be in the movie.
Yeah, but also that's the thing too, is there's so many better songs from that era that they could have chose for the movie, and I don't think the soundtrack was strong. That was not as strong as it could have been, even though there's like
that was maybe my one thing, is that sometimes when they did do a needle drop, it was on the nose. Like, it's a song about manipulating lovers, so you got to have "Smile" by Lily Allen on the soundtrack. Like,
yeah,
it's like
when it really didn't work with the scenes we were watching, but it just kind of was there. It's okay. I would say it's not one I'll ever watch again. Frankly, I probably won't watch a lot of Luca's filmography again, just because I don't think they're the most rewatchable films in the world.
Not necessarily.
But I probably won't watch it again. It's got some stronger elements, but I think that overall it's a movie that I would not recommend. And I don't think it's one that you need to waste your time on, because there's probably going to be better performances from all of them in other projects upcoming and maybe even past that you could check out instead.
So Aunt Becca, who's wrong, says you shouldn't go see Challengers, and Uncle Grant says that Challengers is one of the best films of the year. So make of that what you will. All right, Becca, you ready for our 3 to see?
I think we should do Dogs of the Week first. I think that's.
Speaking of, hold on, Becca. Do you hear that?
Do you have the sound?
Do you hear the sound? Oh shit! Hold on.
Oh my gosh!
First episode, people. We're gonna refine this. I promise. God, is YouTube owned by like fucking Toyota? It's like
probably.
Every ad is like a fucking Toyota.
Wait, you trying? Is it Siskel? Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Dog of the week.
It's Spot the Wonder Dog, everybody.
Yeah. Look, where is he? Whoa! No, it's funny because for a while I didn't know what I was gonna say here. It was gonna be, maybe the Jennifer Lopez movie that was not very good, or
which
like
I also really liked.
Ghostbusters Frozen Empire was maybe on there. But then I remembered a specific movie came out this week, and it's in no theaters. I think it didn't make $1 million. Mm-hmm. Do you know what movie I'm talking about?
No.
Pool Man.
Oh, right. Oh, that's the.
Yeah.
It's actually playing at my local art house.
I saw this. This was the last movie I saw at TIFF last year. It was either this or it was Fingernails. I don't know why I didn't go see Fingernails instead, because that movie looks actually quite interesting. But so I saw Pool Man.
Mm-hmm.
About half the this was a critic screening too.
Yeah.
Half the audience left halfway through the like
Oh,
not even halfway through the movie. It was like 20 minutes into the movie, half the audience was already gone. It's
damn.
a movie that is trying so hard to be Under the Silver Lake or Mulholland Drive
It looked like a
or
blatant Big Lebowski ripoff, is what it
it
looked
or Big Lebowski. It's
right.
basically they're taking the skeleton of Chinatown and just
Mm.
making a shittier version of Chinatown with it. And it's funny to me because they literally reference Chinatown at least 4 times in the first 20 minutes. So it's very much like Not Another Church movie, where it's like, oh, you're just gonna reference the movie that you're trying to be, but you're never gonna be that good. And it's interesting that because it's so funny because then Chris Pine came out and was like, I'm not listening to those Toronto reviewers because I'm still gonna love my movie. And I'm like, oh shit, he's talking shit on me now. Oh, it was funny, but
Good
like,
for you.
but it was a movie that I'm like, I get it. It's trying to be the Big Lebowski, but it comes off more like Fool's Paradise, which is so unfortunate that it does. Because I've been excited to see this movie for a while, and
Yeah.
it's such a bad film that like, what are you doing, Chris Pine? Like you
But
should have
here's the
done
thing.
something better.
The key difference, though, I haven't seen Pool Man yet, but the thing that made Fool's Paradise doubly disappointing is that there are individual moments in Fool's Paradise that are kind of brilliant, and they make you want to see the movie that is
But
more of
then
that.
it doesn't develop any
Not
of
at
that,
all.
and
Right.
that's the thing that I hate about Fool's Paradise, and that's the thing I didn't like about this one was, yeah, this one was more single, like, focused, but it
Right.
still was like, "Oh, you're clearly just trying to do this Chinatown thing, but
Right.
you don't have the strength, or the filmmaking talent to do a Chinatown."
Right.
But, no, Pool Man is, like, my dog of the week. I think that that's a movie that it's out and people don't even realize it's out. I would say if you're gonna see something and see everything else instead that's out right now. Just there's so much more to see.
Um.
Don't
us-
watch,
us-
Pool Man.
and we're gonna have three of them for each of us that you can seek out.
Yeah.
So, but my choice for dog of the week. Look, I haven't seen Pool Man. Pool Man, at the very least, seems like it's an actual movie. My dog of the week. It was tough picking the first dog of the week. I was thinking Rebel Moon Part 2, Tarot,
Okay.
really bad. But then I saw the movie I saw yesterday, and there was no contest. Not Another Church movie is my dog of the week. This
Yeah.
movie. Do you like hearing the titles of Tyler Perry movies in the form of jokes? Then you're gonna think this is the funniest goddamn thing you've ever seen.
I
Here's
went
how
and got
bad.
some food, and I was listening to your review, and you were really heated on it, and I'm like, "I get it.
Here's
It sounds fucking terrible."
here's the here's the here's the thing that you should know. Not Another Church movie may be the worst movie ever that has Vivica A. Fox in it, and that includes Cool Cat Saves the Kids.
But Cool Cat has an
Cool Cat's
irony to
awesome
it.
though.
It's a funny ass movie to watch. Even the last one they did, the coronavirus one, was so funny because it's so
Um,
fucking bad.
I
Like,
didn't. The coronavirus one I didn't like as much as the regular one because first off, say what you will about Cool Cat Saves the Kids, Jason Johnson is a much better version of that character
that
than
is
Derek
true.
is.
And I
He's
feel
actually
like
kind of making an effort.
Derek is trying to make it bad now on purpose, and some
Yeah.
of it doesn't work. I'll admit that. But I had fun with it. There was the I'm Dirty Dog, and like the
Oh
songs were
my
crazy.
god!
I love the songs in it.
I'm gonna do a rap. It's just gonna be me talking in
I'm
not
Dirty
even rhyme.
Dog.
I'm the baddest
Yeah.
there. I'm rhyming
I'm the
is with
baddest there
is.
is. No,
Right.
but I totally get that because, like, from the opinion that I hear from a lot of people is that it's basically bringing it back to the days of disaster movie where it's just, hey, we're just gonna
Worse.
reference a bunch of stuff, but it's not
Worse.
funny.
It's worse because say what you will about disaster movie, it's a terrible movie. There was at least one genuine laugh in it, which
That
is
yeah.
there's one line in it, and I was actually Diamond, or I think it was Memulous. They kind of nailed it because it was the funniest line in the movie, which was when Matt Lanter looks at I think was it Alyssa Milano who plays like the girlfriend in it.
I think so.
So it was Nick Lachey's wife. Stay out of it, Nick Lachey's wife. And it was she's there. They wake up. It's like at the beginning of the movie, and she leaves. And she's like, "Are you at least coming to my super sweet 16 party?" He goes, "Dude, you're like 35." It's like, Okay, that's funny.
There's also like at least those movies had Crispin Glover dress up as Willy Wonka
And the
and do
demonic
his
chipmunks.
shtick, which was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds really bad. This one
It's
sounds like
literally
insane.
this is an example of a joke. It's Diary of a Mad Black Woman, line for line, but the payoff is when light-skinned, pecked hot guy shows up, she against his consent rapes him by shoving a toothbrush up his ass. And then they make fun of him for being traumatized, and that's supposed to be a joke. Yeah. And it's just not funny. The guy was raped, and there's no joke. It's just the guy got raped. And that's supposed to be in and of itself funny.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of movie where you'd be madder at it for being transphobic if it actually didn't even fail. It weirdly fails at even doing that.
It's like a lady ballers thing where it's not even like you're not even doing a good fucking thing. It's not funny.
Lady Ballers, I'll say this. Lady Ballers is more offensive than this movie. This is worse, however, because it's lazy, whereas Lady Ballers, the people making it had an agenda and they went for it, and it was an evil agenda.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie,
that's true.
There's no jokes. Like, I'm not even kidding you when I say there's not even a setup or a punchline of even a bad joke. It's literally Daddy's Little Girls is a movie that exists and Idris Elba was in it, so we're gonna acknowledge it. That's it. Like, that's literally the joke. And Vivica Fox is bad in it. Jamie Foxx, who's honestly had a pretty good year last year, kind of just seems like they cloned Tyrone was like a runner-up on my best of list. He was really good.
I think it seems like they made.
This was on a shelf for a while.
Yeah, it seems like this was made for he needed money, and they just didn't know what to do with it. Like,
and I just sat there watching Mickey Rourke, and I was just like, dude, man, you're in The Wrestler. What the fuck are you doing in this? Like, not another. It's a dog that barks pretty loudly. Another. It's an all-time dog. So 3 to see.
3 to see. Okay, one of my 3 to sees is a movie that we're going to talk about next time. Just because you'll if you see it, then if not, I think it could work out that you see it. I'm not sure. We'll see. Just because it's a good movie. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the 2 best ones from this list and then talk about that one. That's gonna be my 3. So first one is the one that I would say is the only film this year that I'd give an 11 out of 10 because it's so spectacular. I saw The TV Glow, Jane Chobrin's new film. Really cool, trippy film it's about accepting yourself or pushing. Like, will you accept yourself as who you are? Are you going to push it down and just like pretend it's not there until it literally is like killing you? It's like a very much a gender expression film. But it's cool too because I grew up watching Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? And the movie definitely has vibes like that, where you go into the show, creepypasta type stuff. Yeah. And I loved Jane's first film. I thought it was really, really great, but I felt like it was definitely a film that was hard to recommend to people because it was so avant-garde in its structure. But this one, I think, the whole third act of the movie feels like I'm watching a David Lynch film.
It was too late for me to review it, but I actually got around not long ago to watching We're All Going to the World's Fair, and that is a great movie.
It's what I'll say about this one is it very much feels like as the film goes on, you're sliding into a David Lynch world. There's literally the scene where it shifts for me is there's a scene where they're in a bar, and it feels like an episode of Twin Peaks. And there's a performance where it's on the soundtrack. It's my favorite song on the soundtrack, where this girl just is like fucking screaming into the mic. And at that point, I'm like, oh, okay, that is the moment, that scene is the moment where it kind of made sense to me what the movie was going to do. And then it hits you with a last 10 minutes that I will say is in the ranking of something like After Sun for me for just most devastating endings, because when you get the context of what the ending is, it's just so hard hitting. It's such a hard hitting, soul crushing film when you think about it as a whole. I think it's going to hit more people differently. I think people who are trans or non-binary or queer, mostly I would say people who are not out of like who are not out in public, it's
Mm.
probably going to hit them the most because it's a movie about will you decide to be yourself or will you, go and pretend stuff away. And it's the way they use the monsters and the visuals and all that to explain that I think is really
Mm.
great, and the performances are fantastic. I'm going to keep the rest of what I'm going to say until
Mhm.
we actually talk about it,
I
but
can't wait to see it.
I
That's
saw the TV Glow. It's coming basically everywhere on Friday.
I hope.
So everyone and then I will say Late Night with the Devil
Yep.
is another one. It's on Shutter. Everyone should do that, check that out. And then since it's out and like a lot of these other ones aren't out yet, I'll say Abigail
Okay.
because you can rent it or you can go see it in the theaters. So I'll say Abigail too.
All right, my three to see. I decided to pick three movies that were not covered on this week's show because I
Okay.
kind of wanted to like just get them out there. Movies that maybe you
Mhm.
hadn't heard of or they kind of passed you by.
Yeah.
So my number three is The Contestant. I watched that this
Yes.
week, and this is the best documentary I've seen so far this year. It is a genuinely horrific movie. It's disturbing. It's not
Yes. I
hard.
wasn't disturbed, but I knew the story going in. So I kind of like it was
I
kind
knew
of wild
little
though to
about it.
see what was going on.
And what I think is brilliant is a lot of the negative reviews to this movie talk about, oh, it's voyeuristic, it's voyeuristic.
Yeah.
That's we are voyeurs though. That's the point.
Yeah. That's the
I
point
think
of the
that what they're
movie.
trying to do is show us it's a cold shower of reality after the voyeuristic parts of it. And I think that's
Yeah.
what it's about. And seeing how this guy's life was forever changed by this kind of sort of horribly humiliating thing that happened to
Mhm.
him.
I wish I
And
saw it at TIFF. I almost saw it at
yeah,
TIFF. David convinced us to go see They Shot the Piano Player instead, which I liked a lot less than Contestant, so I
can
should
I
have
be
went and
real?
saw
That's another major
Contestant.
disagreement we have because I really
Yeah,
like
no,
the piano player.
I think a lot of it too was that there was like 2 or 3 films I could have saw instead that were films that I was actually interested in seeing,
Mm,
and I felt like and I didn't wanna walk out of it because I already walked out of, like, 2 films at the festival so far, so I didn't wanna become that's my reputation of walking out of movies,
right.
but I was like, "I don't wanna be here." Like, 30 minutes in, I'm like, "Oh, this is all the movie is. I don't wanna be here." Um,
Yeah.
but no, I liked Contestant. I saw it on it's on Hulu and it's on streaming now, so I checked it
Mm.
out, and, like,
And I think
it's
in
good.
select theaters too in the US, somewhere.
I
But
think so. I think
it,
it's probably some art house doc,
it's what I love about
theaters.
this movie is that it's also a portrait of like a genuinely nice guy who really was fucked over by everyone in his life to some extent except that his mother and his sister. I mean, he was put in this position where like he was bullied in school and he wanted to make
Yeah,
people laugh by doing this, and then
yeah.
everybody was laughing at him and not with him on a grand
Mhm.
scale, and it was just heartbreaking because this guy is a genuinely nice guy, and so
Yeah.
you feel it. My number two is very fresh in my mind. It's one of the best drive-in B movies I've seen in a long time. The Last Stop in Yuma County.
Okay. It
This
is
is
very B movie.
very B movie. If you want to see some of your finest bloodydisgusting.com indie actors all together in a movie,
Yeah.
Jim Cummings, Jocelyn Donahue, Sierra McCormick.
I was
Uh,
gonna see it because of Sierra McCormick because
she's
she was
great.
great. She's great in VFW, which I love Joe
The Bastard
Bagos'
Night, baby.
movies. Vast of Night was good, and she was also good in a movie that a lot of people didn't like, but I liked. We Need to Do Something, where her and what's his face, who's friends with me on Facebook, are locked in a bathroom,
Ooh.
and it's the apocalypse, and they're locked in their house bathroom, and they're like, "How do we get out?" That was good too. I saw that at Outfest. So I wanted to see it because she was in it because I think that she's a great actress, but she's good in the American Horror Story episode. She's in.
And you also got like little fleeting cameos from like Alex Esso, Sam
Mhm.
Huntington, Faison Love, Barbara Crampton. Always a treat to see on screen. So yeah, The Last Stop in Yuma County is the kissing cousin to Andrew Dominic's underrated Killing Them Softly, which I really like, and I know a lot of people didn't like, but I think that it has that same vibe of it's
Yeah.
about greed and capitalism with a Western noir backdrop. So yeah, Last Stop in Yuma County, great movie. Also, genuinely career best performance from Jim Cummings, who's always been good. So yeah, Last Stop in Yuma County is number 2, and my number 1 is one that's personal for me. Yes, it's not the most dynamic movie in the world, but it made me cry and it made me feel better on a pretty horrible day. And it's also an adaptation of a book I love that I feel like is not getting the recognition it deserves. My number 1 is Hannah Mark's Turtles All the Way Down. I love this movie. It's on HBO Max.
I've seen it advertised and I heard good things about it, but it seems like one like Rye Lane where at some point I'll watch it, but I don't have it on the have to watch it right now.
It's made from familiar elements, but I think what makes it's one of my favorites of the year, and I think the reason is because I related so much to the experience of the characters that it made me love it. Also, Hannah Marks is a great filmmaker. This is my introduction to her. I've seen her as an actor before, but this is like her the first movie of hers. She's done a few, but this is the first one I've seen. And it's a book that is hard to adapt, and I think she did it the best anybody possibly could. I think Isabella Merced, who of course was in Madam Web, is a much better actress. I'm gonna call it Dora the Explorer. The movie is actually kind of good. I'm sorry.
I from what I remember, I liked it because it's a satire. It's like
absolutely, it's the Brady Bunch version of Dora the Explorer.
It is.
She's great, and then this actress she goes only by Cree, who I didn't know her work. She was on, but she's most known for being on that last Dan Schneider show that lasted like 5 minutes. Game Shakers.
Game Shakers? Okay.
Yeah. She's in this, and she's terrific. I mean, she's as sort of the best friend who she almost reminds me of Seth Rogen's character in 50-50 in the sense of like, it's that kind of character. Really great turns from Judy Reyes. Always good. Yeah, Carla from Scrubs, for those who know. You got people in there. And it's, based on a novel by John Green, who I know he's a love it or hate it kind of figure, but I think that, like, Looking for Alaska was my teenage experience, so I love that show with a passion.
I remember reading the book, but I never watched the movie just because or the show, because I felt like it just, I don't know. I just felt like it was a book that I'm like, it was from when I was a kid. I don't know if they'll do a good adaptation of that.
It's honestly pretty underrated. I kind of recommend. Because it also has that very specific mid-2000s thing of like summer camp when you're the kid of the mid-2000s and you're just kind of hanging out with friends and you get to know people that you kind of are bonded to. It's a vibe kind of show, but it works. Also, Charlie Plummer is great. He's a great actor. But yeah, so like this movie just affected me in a way that even compared to the book really caught me off guard, and on a day when my mental health was not its best, it really made me feel better, and I just kind of was like, am I only liking this in relation to how bad a day I was? But the other day I watched it a second time and I'm like, no, it's really that good. So my number 1, Turtles All the Way Down, check it out. And then we're going to end it with one last little segment. You don't have to do yours if you don't want to. It's called Home Media Minute, and since this is the first episode and it's U.S.-Canada relations are stronger now because we've done this. I wanted to highlight a movie that is available now to rent and buy relatively cheaply on streaming, and I highly recommend it. Yeah, my home video pick is Charlie Stone's North of Normal. This is my number 3 or number 4 movie of the year. I love this movie. You talk about movies that hit me just in the right spot. This movie affected me for days after I saw it, and I can't describe why. It's just such a moving film. Sarah Gadon is one of our unsung actresses, and I think that she's just... If it's too bad this is just getting dumped on VOD in this country, because I think it would be an Oscar-worthy turn from her. There's a young actress in this movie who I had seen before, and I didn't realize until I watched it. She was on High School, the Tegan and Sarah series, which was really terrific.
That was a good show.
Her name is Amanda Fix. I want to credit her. She was also in, weirdly enough, that same weekend I just was half watching a movie on Tubi called Low Lifes, where she was like a cannibal.
I actually kind of like it. I've heard about it. I like to watch weird shit on Tubi just because I'm like, what is on here? I don't know.
It's a little bit better made. That also has one of the best like cornball camp lines of the year, which is "I'd rather eat pussy than people," which is just a great
Oh.
line. But she's in that. She's also going to be on that new Orphan Black series. She's going to be like the
Okay.
young Kristen
I
Wiig.
don't. I might watch it. My thing is that Tatiana's not on it, from what
Yeah,
I know. So I don't know if I care as much, to be honest.
but she's the lead. She's really more of the lead character than Sarah Gadon is. She's her daughter in it, and
Mhm.
she is phenomenal. I mean, there's one scene in this film in which she's remembering this trauma from her past, and the way that Carly Stone frames it and the way she acts it is chilling. I mean, it's like it's so beautifully handled and just right. It's the kind of scene where if you do it wrong, you feel like shit for watching it because it would be trashy. But the
Mhm.
way that it's done is just right. It really is powerful. I mean, it just
Yeah.
hits you, and it's mostly set in the '70s, so the soundtrack is great. There's a lot of
Okay.
like, soft, blue roots rock stuff, and
Because like I heard that it was some '70s throwback. I'm like, okay, I'll see it. But it's just at the end of the year, I was like trying to figure out what I want to watch,
mm,
and that just never got on my list. I guess I will throw in. I'd throw in a Canadian film too. I guess if we're gonna
sure.
do that. It's on. I think it's on iTunes now. You could check. Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person is a
I want
movie
to see
that
that one. I still haven't
I
seen it.
haven't. I've seen it a few times now. I got a screener from them after TIFF before they released it to
It's not
everyone.
out in the States yet at all.
Okay. It will at some point. Because
Okay.
I got a screener for it and then I own it now on iTunes. And it's a
Mhm.
movie I saw last year that I saw a couple times and it's a fun little it's like Tim Burton you got this teen
Mhm.
girl who's like I'm a vampire but I don't want to do vampire stuff because I don't want to kill people and this and that and you watch this basically it's like a coming of age movie, a really dark, funny, kind of sad sometimes coming of age film that's from Quebec and
Mhm.
it's about a girl who is she's great in it. Sarah Monpetit is one of the actresses at this point that is strictly Canadian that I'm like, yeah, I think
Mhm.
she is one of those people that I hope that she has a long career in like Canadians or international cinema too, if that's what she does,
Mhm.
because we barely have some people here. Matt Johnson is one of them, but like
God.
Canada does not have as big of an industry as like they want people to think that we have. Um, so it's cool that she's here and she's really good in it. She's good in other films, but Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person, whenever it comes out for anyone, if someone's watching this in Canada and it's out, check it out. It's cool. It's
Well, and in
on
the I've no
streaming.
I've noticed that some really good distributors like Quiver and Blue
Mhm.
Fox here in this country have been putting out a lot more Canadian films. Like another film
Yeah.
that I put up with the best of the year, Fitting In, which I really liked. With
Fitting In was great too. We saw
yeah,
that in a 500 seat IMAX at TIFF, and that
okay,
was weird. It was an IMAX showing a movie about a girl's vagina, and I was just like, "This is a great movie, though. This is a great movie that
it's a
we're for
great
some
coming of
reason
age movie.
watching on IMAX." It's a great coming of age film, 100%.
It it
I
was so
recommend that one too.
I texted you in the theater because I was the only one in the
Yeah,
theater sadly to see it. And I said this movie is so good it actually gave me an anxiety attack.
yeah,
Like it's so effectively done.
yeah,
But yeah, so that's it. That's our show.
yeah.
We
It'll
really
probably be
have
shorter next time. I'm assuming it'll be
yeah.
shorter next time, but
But we wanted to kind of go all out. We want to do. We maybe would not do 9 movies next time, just maybe
no.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
But we wanted to kind of set it off, and kind of do this whole thing. And there's been a lot of good shit this year already. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been a good year
And I think
already.
things should be acknowledged. I think that
Okay.
there's a lot of films that need to be acknowledged
That
in a
fall
way
by the wayside.
just even some movies I want to talk about further than just initial review,
Yeah,
that deserve more than that.
we'll do spoiler talks at some point for some movies. Like we have to some
Yeah.
episodes. But yeah, and then we got a lot of stuff coming up. I'm personally next week really looking forward to The Strangers. I don't know why, just because I
Okay.
like and I'm really looking forward
I
to
heard
Glow.
it's not very good,
Yeah,
but it might be Rennie Harlin's best because that
that's not
motherfucker has
hard.
never made a good film. So like,
Well, Die Hard 2 was all right, but other
I
than
guess
that,
so. Yeah, but he's very much that studio sequel guy where it's like, oh, no one wants to make this, and we can't put Alan Smithy on it anymore. So let's put
I'll
this dude
never
in.
I'll never forgive him for The Legend of Hercules. That was just one of the
That's such a
worst.
bad movie.
Like when a movie directed by Bryan Singer with the same subject matter is actually good by comparison to
Yeah,
or Brett Ratner even. Sorry,
Brett
my bad.
Ratner. Yeah,
Like,
they're both weirdos. Let's be
yeah,
honest.
they are like Brett Ratner is a worse filmmaker than Bryan Singer though, but
That is
still,
true. If we're gonna compare, no, yeah,
I just
no. I heard it's okay.
I like
Yeah,
that. I like as a Riverdale fan. I like that Madeline Pesh is getting work. So that's something.
yeah. I'm waiting for like Maxine, and I'm waiting for
Oh
like
hell yeah!
long legs and
Robot Dreams,
Furiosa probably Robot Dreams. Yeah,
Furiosa. Oh, I actually just got my ticket for it. Speaking of Canadian films, In a Violent Nature, I just got my ticket. We're gonna have to talk about that on here.
I'm gonna have to see. I'm probably gonna wait for Shutter. It's probably not playing anywhere around me, so I'll probably wait for Shutter to see
It's
it.
NC-17, but I think that our theater has a deal. My other regular theater
Oh,
has a
all
deal
the theaters have a deal. They'll show the NC-17 cut.
with Shutter especially, so they'll show their unrated stuff too. Like
Oh,
they'll show like
Shutter will show the unrated. They
yeah.
showed House of Jack built unrated. So
Um,
no, I'm interested to see it because I know Peter, who's a producer on it, who runs Midnight Madness at TIFF. So I'm real interested to see it because I heard that it's a very kind of vile, kind of like unrelenting movie, and I'm interested to see that
they
from the
described it
perspective of
as
the
imagine
killer.
Friday the 13th if it was made in the slow
Yeah,
cinema style, which I love.
which sounds cool, which
It
I'm
does.
excited to see. Yeah.
I also have to say, really up there for me. Well, first off, that Maxine definitely.
Yeah.
Um, I'm weirdly kind of intrigued by that Kevin Costner two-part like western. I don't know why.
Yeah. But the first part's like 3 hours though.
Yeah,
They're
it,
both 3 hours long.
I
I can't do that.
I don't know if it's coming out this year. It might probably, if it is, probably Oscar season. But my most anticipated movie that isn't Deadpool is probably, and Maxine is probably. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the fact that it's who's directing it. Maybe it's the fact that who's all the cool people that are in it. SNL 75. I'm like really
That's a
excited.
good. I'm excited for that because that's such a cool cast and I'm
Oh
down to
yeah,
see that.
Dylan
Um
O'Brien.
my thoughts are either they're gonna drop it in November because they're
Yeah,
done filming, or December, or they're gonna wait until like April or May and do it as a summer movie.
I think it's going to be out in time for Oscars. I think
Probably.
they're going to.
Well, because it's such a great cast and everyone
Right.
loves Jason Reitman's
Yeah.
films. So
Well, and
yeah.
Jason Reitman, like I'm a massive. One of my favorite movies of all time is Up in the Air. So like
Yeah.
I love Jason Reitman, and so um I just am a big admirer of his. So even when he fails, like even shit like Men, Women, and Children, I feel like I'm
Yeah.
or Labor
Well,
Day.
and I love old SNL. I think that
Mhm.
SNL hasn't been funny for a couple decades, but like the old stuff, I'm interested in that lineup and what
I'm
they
intrigued by
propose.
the approach. There was a movie, either during COVID or like right before it. It probably was right before it that they did with that was of a similar type, seemingly, which was a futile and stupid gesture, the National Lampoon movie
Mhm.
with Will Forte, which I
Yeah.
really liked, and
Oh yeah.
I thought it was real underrated. But yeah, so that's our show. We will be back
Yeah.
next week, and
Or maybe
until
2
then,
weeks. We'll see. Either next week or in 2 weeks. I don't know if we'll do it weekly or bi-week. We might do it bi-weekly.
bi-weekly, yeah. But until
Yeah.
then, we will be back eventually, hopefully. But until then, Siskel and Ebert's widows. We'll see you in court. Take care, everyone.
Oh, we're gonna fight
But
them?
yeah, we're gonna That's gonna be our closing line.
Let's go. I'll fight
be
Siskel.
fair, I did get a wonderful letter once from Chaz Ebert, so I would feel bad about. I mean, to go to court with Chaz Ebert.
They're cool
She's really
people.
cool.
I don't mean no harm. I just think that
Right.
they basically are the coolest
Yeah.
film critics ever, and I feel like everyone owes everything to them. Like,
100%.
yeah.
100%. All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming on, Becca.
Yeah.
All right. Take care. Have a good night, everyone. Peace. Becca, say goodbye.
Bye. Oh, am I supposed to say
Bye.
bye? Oh, I thought we were just ending it. Oh my gosh.
Take care. Bye, everyone. You gotta